what we're looking at with the ore sorting is each ore sorter does about 500,000 tonne per annum with the sort of crush that we're looking at. And if we want to do more tonnes, we just put more ore sorters in. And then if we want to do more processing at the back end, we just buy more spirals and tables and things, which all makes it quite modular, very scalable, and that's quite welcome given that we continue to expand the deposit as well. So it's all set up very well for a good development pipeline.
Hello and welcome to the Assay TV. Today I am very happy to be joined by Oliver Davies, Managing Director at Sky Metals. So Oliver, thanks for joining us here today.
Thanks for having me, Amy. Pleasure to be here.
Absolutely. And so, maybe we could just start with a brief overview to Sky Metals. Can you tell us a bit about your key objectives for the company?
Yeah, absolutely. So Sky Metals has a cornerstone asset in central New South Wales, which is the Tallebung Tin Project, where we're developing a large and growing tin resource with a few exceptional advantages and aiming to be a near-term production opportunity to supply a growing demand from the tin market. So quite an exciting project in quite an exciting commodity.
Excellent. And so, yeah, let's get into the Tallebung Tin Project. So this has been described as a near-term technology-enabled development opportunity. So can you talk a bit about what distinguishes the project from other tin projects globally? So looking at things like geology, infrastructure, developmental readiness, all of that.
The great thing about the Tallebung project is that we have uniquely coarse cassiterite, which makes all of our processing very, very simple. And then we're also dealing with a deposit that comes to surface and is very shallow. So all of that means that it's open pittable, very cheap processing to then make a very high grade concentrate. And all of that makes it a pretty exceptional project in that regard. Very low cost and also producing a very high value product at the end. And it's a historic tin field. It was discovered in the 1890s, mined up until the 1980s. And that just means that there's a lot of shortcuts in place for us. We've already got power lines to site. There's an old easement for a water pipeline. A lot of things that usually take quite a lot of time in developing projects are already there for us to plug into and get going as soon as possible. And then there's also all the existing disturbance from the historic activities mean that that in terms of for approval pathways and things, it makes it much more streamlined for us. And we're not talking about a virgin site. We're talking about getting a new operation back into production. And we're also looking at being quite advanced already in environmental studies. We've had a high conviction around this project for a long time, which has meant that we have gotten an early start, a head start in all of our environmental permitting, which is putting us in a good place now to move through all those permitting questions as quickly as possible in a very stable jurisdiction in Australia.
Okay, sounds great. And so you've got some recent metallurgical test work that that's been done at Tallebung, which this delivered a tin grade uplift of up to 44 times. So, can you talk about how these results impact your vision for the project and its scalability?
Absolutely. The great thing about the very coarse nature of the mineralisation at Tallebung means that it's ideal for ore sorting. And what that means is that once we dig up a ton of ore, we ore sort it and we get rid of 90% of the mass, or over 90% of the mass is what we're showing in our bulk test work at the moment. And what that means is that any water demands, any power demands, all of that stuff is reduced by over 90%. And it means that any project CapEx or OpEx is 10% or less of what it would have been otherwise. So really, if we needed to spend $100 million on a plant before, we're looking at actually spending $10 million or less. So it makes the project really uniquely capital efficient, but also very quickly scalable. What we're looking at with the ore sorting is each ore sorter does about 500,000 tonne per annum with the sort of crush that we're looking at. And if we want to do more tonnes, we just put more ore sorters in. And then if we want to do more processing at the back end, we just buy more spirals and tables and things, which all makes it quite modular, very scalable. And that's quite welcome given that we continue to expand the deposit as well. So it's all set up very well for a good development pipeline.
Okay, excellent. And so maybe we could talk a little bit more about that pipeline that you have in place. So, what's your plan in terms of updating the resource and further exploration at the project?
We've had some pretty tremendous success with our latest drilling program. We drilled another 140 holes over the last few months, and we found quite a lot of high-grade extensions to the deposit. The deposit remains open in all directions, and what we are aiming to do now is to flesh out these new high-grade extensions, see how extensive they are, with an upcoming drilling program commencing in about a month or so. And that will then get us to a point where we can put the new resource into our mining studies and have a look at how compelling we think the economics is for this project. Given all of these advantages of being shallow, with the cheap processing, thanks to TOMRA ore sorting and things like that, it really looks like this is a project that can very quickly run through those permitting processes and get into production.
Excellent. And so I want to just shift to look a bit at the Doradilla Tin Project as well. So this offers a bit of additional scale to your tin portfolio. So, how does this asset complement Tallebung? And, what kind of role does it play in your development pipeline overall?
Doradilla is a really exciting development. It's a project. It's been known since the 1970s. They were incredibly bullish on it back then, but had some issues with the metallurgy of actually extracting the tin. We've since solved those, and that's what we announced about a month or so ago, and that's really unlocked a monster up there. It's a huge project. Even for the 2.5 kilometre strike of drilling that we currently have in our database, we estimate an exploration target of over 30,000 tonne to over 60,000 tonne. So a very large range, very large resource there. And we think that we've got extensions to at least triple that number. So this is a really massive deposit, and really has the potential to put Sky Metals as a tin producer for decades. Tallebung's a really great, simple project. It itself looks like it could go for at least 5 or 10 years. But having something like Doradilla as well really shows that there's a lot more to come from this business, and some really exciting exploration developments yet to come. So it complements really well. Tallebung's a terrific project. That will be our focus and get that into production. But Doradilla sitting there to be developed is a really exciting complementary asset for us.
Okay, excellent. Definitely sounds like there's quite a bit coming up in the pipeline. So you recently received just over $6 million in placement to advance Tallebung. So can you talk a little bit about how you're planning to use these funds, and just, how well funded you are now to continue to progress the project forward?
Absolutely. The last capital raise has positioned us really well to really keep our foot to the floor, if you like. We can keep the momentum going on all of our projects, keep the excitement coming and all of the good results. And it means that we're very well funded now for at least the rest of the year to get some good drilling in, flesh out these new higher grade zones, upgrade that resource and put that into our mining studies and show what a compelling project we have. So that latest capital raise has really positioned us well to be able to keep the momentum and keep aggressively developing the Tallebung project, and for us to get as far down the process as quickly as possible.
Yeah, excellent. And so we kind of touched on this at the beginning of the interview, but can you just share a bit more about kind of a long-term vision that you have for Sky Metals, particularly with relationship to the tin market and the potential growth of that market overall?
Absolutely. The tin market has seen exceptional demand with electronics, due to its use in solar and things. So the tin demand has been very, very strong and will continue to be strong in the coming years. Tin supply has been shaky, and we're seeing that Sky Metals is emerging to become a very low-cost, stable supplier of tin for that growing demand. The growing demand has also underpinned a very strong tin price, which we hope to see some great benefits from in the future as we bring these low-cost projects into development.
Sounds great. And so just to wrap it up, can you share any, key upcoming milestones that you have for Sky Metals for the remainder of 2025 and early part of 2026 that we should be on the lookout for?
Absolutely. We'll have some in the near term. We'll have some more drill results coming out. We're quite excited to see those. And then we'll move into another phase of drilling to infill and extend some of these new high-grade discoveries. And then on the back of that, we'll have an updated resource. Concurrently, we're working through our bulk sampling program as well, which is a bulk sample that we're using to optimize our metallurgical flow sheet. Already, that's bearing some really tremendous fruit with a increase in the upgrade that we're seeing for ore sorting, which is terrific. And now we're moving into actually producing a marketable tin concentrate that we can use to then take to offtake tin producers and things to see how much demand there is for this concentrate. We think there will be tremendous demand for it, given that it is a very high grade tin concentrate that are really in demand at the moment that we can produce from Tallebung. And also then once we get an updated resource, we've optimized our metallurgical flow sheet. All of this can flow together into updating mining studies and getting our environmental permitting into the final stages to get the tick to start to produce at Tallebung.
Okay, sounds great. And so those were all the questions that I had for you today, Oliver. So I want to thank you for joining us here today on the Assay. We'll also be featuring a more in-depth interview with you in an upcoming edition, the ASX edition of the magazine. So be sure to check that out. And we hope to see you at one of our events soon.
Excellent. Thank you very much, Amy. Really appreciate the time. Thank you.
Great to catch up, and we will speak again soon. Thank you.